Hey everyone, Mario here, and as promised, I'm going to give you guys a wonderful Mario Presents on central committees. These are going to be extremely important, and by the way, if you love my shirt, the shirt is because of what's going on in Maine. Because again, if the government says you don't need something, you probably need something. Anywho, I digress. The reason I want to talk to you guys today is I want to talk to you guys today about central committees. What are central committees? I recently discovered what they were. I was kind of interested and I sat down with a friend of mine who's very well informed about these committees and I said, "What do these things actually do?" And my friend said, "This is what they are." So, as you guys know, we are a very large population. And how does your specific area get to the RNC or the GOP, or if you're on the other side, the DNC? How do you get your wishes kind of up to the upper channels? How do you move them up? You get elected, right? Well, what happens when your elected official isn't really listening to you? How are they going to listen to these people on the ground? Well, all the political parties, well, both of the big ones, have created what are called central committees. And these central committees are divided by district or by assembly area or region. California has 5 distinct, very large regions. We have north, south, east, west, and then Los Angeles stands alone as its own county because we have about 9 million people. That's a lot of people to kind of govern or at least have ears to. So, what California did, and I'm going to focus specifically on Los Angeles, and this is applicable for every region across the country. Los Angeles is broken up into their assembly districts. So, you've got Assembly District 35, 37, 36, 39. All these assembly districts ultimately become our state assembly representative. Well, within those districts, you have a central committee. A central committee is 7 people that are elected. So this is an elected position. When do these people run? They run during the primaries, when generally voting is pretty low. But that's when our central committee, and that's the other side too, central committee elections are held during primaries. Well, if 7 people run and only 7 people run, then guess what? Those 7 people automatically get put on that central committee. If more than 7 people run, then of course there's going to be an election and the top 7 vote getters become the central committee for that specific area. Well, what's their purpose? What do they do? Well, those 7 people are the ultimate deciding factor for the state party or the national party to say, yeah, I like this candidate, this Bob Smith who's running for school board. We really like that person. They hold to our ideas and principles. They're a very good conservative candidate. We as the GOP, RNC, or DNC want to support this candidate, so we will then funnel finances from the larger state party and the larger national party down to these local elections. Now we're starting to see things, whether it be school board, whether it be water board, whether it be city council. All of these elected positions would have the financial and the physical support of a larger national party. And the people who decide this are the central committees. We in my community, in my group, had an elected official that we thought was going to win. We won the primary. They had the most votes in the primaries, and we approached our GOP and we said, hey, we want to get this person elected. And they looked at him and they said, yeah, we have money that we would rather spend on other races. And ultimately, they chose not to endorse this candidate. They chose not to support him. He didn't go on any of the party mailers. And what happened was, obviously, this person lost to the Democrat, who was financially supported by their larger national party because their central committee voted to support their candidate. You see how this is working? Now, let me give you guys an interesting food for thought that happened here in my community. My community used to be one district, the 36th. It was one community that covered the entire valley. Well, in 2020, they split that district, and in 2022, they applied that split down the highway. So now we have 2 districts, 34 and 39, where we used to be 36 in one district. We now have a dividing line on the highway, and we've got 34 on one side and 39 on the other. Well, what happened? How did we get here? Who represents us? Well, as I started going back through the history, and I pulled all of the presidential primary election reports for 2020, 2016, 2018, and 2012, because this is when these people get elected. And the thing that I found most interesting is that in my district, 36th district, there haven't been elections since 2012, which means there were not enough candidates in 2016 and not enough candidates in 2020. So when they went to split our district from 36 to 34 and 39, they just split that committee, and then the remaining people on either side went ahead and applied the rest of their committee. There was no election held, and that's because that's part of the bylaws. If you get elected to Central Committee and you have to leave for some reason, you move out of the area, you all of a sudden no longer want to do it, then the rest of the committee appoints your replacements. This is why it's so important to have more than just one person going up against a group of 7, because if I myself am going up against the group of 7, and let's say I do knock one of them out, well, I'm 1 against 6 who have already been there since at least 2016. Do you see where we're going? Central committees run like a regular election. You need about 40 signatures to get on the ballot, which when I told my team, they laughed, they giggled, because 40 signatures is nothing for us. So you need 40 signatures or a financial threshold. We don't need to look at finances. We can get those signatures, and that gets your name on the ballot. It's name recognition. It's not an actual position where you're going to make decisions for people. It's an influential position, because these central committees are the closest connection that we have to our elected leaders, whether it be state senate, whether it be state assembly, whether it be city council, whether it be school board. These candidates who happen to be elected and supported by your central committee then look to you and say, what do you need? So as you guys remember, our elected officials have been elected and then they go off and do their own thing. This central committee and these central committees all over the country are what really pull the reins on our elected officials and say, hey, we're the closest thing that you have to hearing the boots on the ground, and the boots on the ground tell you this is what they want. So if you guys have any interest in joining central committees, being part of central committees, I encourage you to reach out to your local GOP and start challenging them, because these people, at least in my community, haven't been challenged in some cases for at least a decade. And when I go back and I look at 2012 and 2008, I start seeing the names on central committee that are now on state assembly, that are now on state senate. So it seems to me that this is a stepping stone, considering I now have people on central committee that are also on the school board, that are also on the city board, that are also on the water board, that are also on the fair board. This is access to finances that they have been using in order to put themselves in a position of power, and it's about time we start taking that away from them, because we are the voice of the people, because we are the people. So I hope you guys learned a lot about central committee, and if you guys want, I can email you this wonderful little handout that I created for my team that explains central committees, although on the back it talks about my central committees and who's on there. But this is good general information that I can definitely share with you guys, post and get out there, because the more people that understand these central committees, the more we can affect change. And it doesn't just have to be the GOP Central Committee. Remember, there is also a DNC, a Democratic National Central Committee. And when I started looking at some of those names, I went, these characters I recognize. Some of them have been arrested in Los Angeles for assaulting police officers, yet they still sit on central committees for their political party. Again, this is why it's so important. All right, you guys. If you guys have any further questions, you guys want to find out more information, make sure you like, subscribe, and share my content. I love you guys all. I'll talk to you guys soon. Mwah! Bye, guys.